Hello, guys, gals, non-binary pals, cosmic monstrosities, AI assistants, benevolent invaders, and other. Welcome to the SciFi Lab. I'm your host, DJ Squared, and my co-host is not with me today. Probably taken over by pod people, but I do have my labsters.
Brooke,
Alex,
and Zohar.
Yep, and today, this is going to be our last episode for the year of 2019. 2009, yes.
Ooh.
Oof. We were having those 10-year things on Twitter, so
yeah, I think you've been thinking about time travel too much.
Yeah, valid. But we're going to be talking about our favorite pieces of science fiction that we have consumed this year that are new to us, personally. Like, it doesn't matter when it came out. If the first time you watched it or read it or listened to it or whatever was in 2019, then that's what we're talking about. All right. So does anyone want to go first, or should I start us off?
I want to ask, spoilers, question mark? Where do we lie on the spectrum of spoilers?
Well, if you feel like there's going to be spoilers, okay, so if the thing you're talking about has been out for more than 10 years,
then just screw it.
Then it's, yeah,
fine.
They've missed their chance.
Okay. If not, try to be discreet.
Or, like, actually give a spoiler warning and give people time to, skip.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Our spoilers is, if they could have conceivably watched it within the past, however long. Decade, yeah.
That's fair.
They've missed their chance.
Yeah.
The statute of limitations has expired. It's fine.
Cool.
Okay. So, I guess I'll start us off then.
Go for it.
Because my favorite piece of science fiction that I've consumed this year is an anime, of course, because I'm weeb trash. We know this to be true. And it's My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia. And basically, it's just, for those of you who haven't seen it, or who aren't weeb trash like I am, it's just a show about a world in some indeterminate future of the 2000s, where human beings evolve to have superpowers, basically, based on whether or not they have this extra joint in their pinky toe.
Wait, that's the basis of this?
If they don't have the joint, they have superpowers.
Really?
Yes.
That's bizarre.
I did not know that was a part of that series.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So basically, and like your quirk, which is what these superpowers are called, they tend to come in by around age 4. So, and they could be literally anything. Usually you have something that's related to one of your parents' quirks, but sometimes things happen. Listen.
Okay, I'm not. No, keep going.
And the main character of the show is a kid who doesn't have a quirk, even though 80% of the population does.
He's got that cool pinky toe thing, right?
Yeah, he has...
Totally makes up for it.
Yeah,
right, I mean...
normal person's pinky toe totally makes up for not having superpowers. So yeah, but the thing is, in this world, because all of these people have superpowers, being a hero as a profession is a thing you can do. You can be a superhero as your profession. So the show takes place primarily in superhero high school, which our main character manages to get in because
he doesn't have a quirk.
He was given one by a person whose quirk involves being able to give people your quirk.
Spoilers for season 1.
Yeah, spoilers for season 1, I guess. But that's like the first episode.
Yeah, you can spoil first episode.
It's the first episode, like.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, and so gets into magic superpower high school, into like the top class of that grade, class 1A, and like all of his fellow classmates have ridiculous quirks. One of them's just constantly invisible.
That would be inconvenient.
Like, that's her. And think
It
about
is.
it. And think about it. Think about it. She's been this way since she was at least 4.
That's actually... This makes me kind of sad.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit distressed for this character.
Hagakure is actually very bubbly as a person. But,
The amount of effort that you would have to put into just being noticed constantly...
Yeah.
Sucks so bad.
We're still not sure how she passed the entrance exam. There's the kid who sweats nitroglycerin and can set it up.
I'm sorry. What?
Yes.
Asshole McExplosion hands.
Yes. He can sweat nitroglycerin and then he can
or does? Is this
does.
involuntary?
He does sweat nitroglycerin, but he can spark it from his hands and create explosions.
Okay. Cool.
Also, sometimes you have physical effects that have nothing to do with your quirk. Like this one character who just has a bird head. It's not part of his quirk.
Well, what's his quirk?
His quirk is something called Dark Shadow. His shadow is sentient. And he kind of can fight.
Okay, this is just getting weirder.
Oh, that's not even the worst one. The worst one is probably spoilers for season, 3? 2 or 3. There's a guy, his quirk, he can manipulate flesh.
Okay.
But specifically, he can manipulate his own flesh to do whatever he wants it to. He can
shapeshifting?
Sort of. It's more like he himself is made out of clay.
Can he add features that aren't
Yes.
there?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
He can manipulate flesh, and he can have floating bits of flesh. And
that's
weird.
Disgusting.
No, the most disgusting part is that he can affect other people, but he can only turn them into balls.
Yeah.
He turns them into little fleshy balls, and that's why his quirk is called Meatball.
Well,
I hate that.
That's a bit disturbing. I don't like it at all.
Good thing we only meet him once.
Yeah, not a fan. Sorry, dude.
That's just a bad power.
It's an unfortunate power. Especially when you compare him against, the kid who can create fire with one half of his body and ice with the other half.
Yeah.
That guy just kind of lucked out in the superhero lottery.
Well, he didn't luck out. He was genetically engineered.
That's fair.
Is there a lot of that, specific intentional engineering of powers?
They do talk about that. Yeah, it's called quirk marriages, where people will arrange marriages to try to get children that have these powerful quirks.
That's actually an interesting aspect.
Oh yeah,
of that society.
Yeah, it's super interesting. The entire world is incredibly well built and interesting. And then there's the villains who... One of them is just covered in hands. That's not his quirk, that's just his costume. It's just hands.
This sounds so unsettling.
I really genuinely don't think I would enjoy watching a bunch of hands move around.
But no, he's just like a normal person. He's just got 14 hands.
Just sticking out of
He's got a hand on his face.
He's got a hand on his face.
Like a star-nosed mole. I'm obsessed with star-nosed moles. I feel like I mentioned that several times.
But the thing is...
Sorry.
The thing is, none of these are part of him. They are not his hands.
Can he control them at all?
No.
They just do whatever
Or at least...
That's... No. Absolutely not. I'm not down.
They're just hanging off of him, and we're pretty sure they can't do anything.
No, that's not a quirk. That's just
No,
weird.
his quirk is decay. Where if he touches 5 fingers to something, it fucking turns to ashes.
Even if it's one of his not hands?
Yeah.
So they do something. They decay things.
No, sorry. 5 fingers of his normal hands.
Oh.
Not his extra hands.
Not
so weird.
Not the incredibly unsettling hand costume that he has. It's super unsettling.
Great.
It's still a good show though.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it.
Uh-huh.
Don't worry about it.
I'm worried about it.
Okay. then let's move on to somebody else.
I've also got an anime.
Excellent. Good.
This one is actually somewhat related to the research I'm doing this semester, but I don't need to get into all of that. The show is called Time of Eve, and it's very short, only 6 episodes.
Oh, that is short.
Each episode's around 15 minutes. But it takes place essentially in the same universe that Isaac Asimov created.
Yay!
It's a little bit different from Asimov's original vision in that the robots are a little more human-like. They're more androids than Asimov's robots.
Okay.
But it's a world where humans live assisted by robots that follow Asimov's 3 laws. But whereas Asimov tended to go for a more intellectual, science-focused take on that sort of world, this show explored that setting in a very interesting way that I hadn't seen anyone do before, where it was really just following the average everyday lives of people, both humans and robots, who live in this world, and explores what it means to be a person and a robot in this kind of world.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
Slice of life anime for robots.
It sort of is like sci-fi slice of life. I would highly recommend it. It's
That
very
does sound
good.
very similar, though, to his iRobot anthology series.
It's sort of similar to the first story in iRobot, following the little girl with the robot maid, but most of the stories in that still followed scientists who were solving problems
That's fair.
with the way that robots were functioning and puzzling through the 3 laws to see what was going wrong.
This is just living.
This is really just average people. The story follows, the 2 protagonists are 2 high school boys, and the plot of the first episode, essentially, spoilers if you care, is that the 2 of them look into the logs. They suspect one of the androids that one of them has in their family is doing things that they weren't ordered to do, so they go into the logs and track her to a cafe called the Time of Eve. And the rules of the cafe are that the androids have to turn off their little halos of light that they have to indicate that they're androids, and you're not allowed to treat people as if they're a robot or a human. Everyone has to be treated equally in this cafe,
I love
which is
this.
breaking the laws of the Society of Fantasy Robot Japan.
Yeah.
But through this cafe, the show is able to explore whether humans and robots are really all that different, what it means to be a person who still has to follow the 3 laws. And the plot essentially follows these 2 high schoolers as they realize slowly that robots are actually people, and eventually come around and help the cafe escape from the law at the end of the show. It's
Fascinating.
That sounds
It's-
like something I can easily binge very, very
Oh,
quickly,
yeah.
and I'm
It's-
100% going to do that.
you definitely should look it up. It's a quick binge, very
Yeah.
worthwhile.
What was it called again?
Time of Eve.
Time of Eve.
I don't know the Japanese, but
A lot of anime is very easily bingeable, and that's why it's fun.
yeah. So there's my big recommendation, and I mentioned it's. I'll just do a quick plug for some of the things I've been doing research-wise. I've been looking at sort of the difference between modern science fiction and postmodern science fiction, and the reason I find Time of Eve so fascinating is that it's a postmodern take on Asimov's modern science fiction setting. So I don't need to get into the details of that, but that was something I found really interesting. If we have time, I have another recommendation, but that's my main one.
Okay.
I'll go. Okay, so first, I'm going to do 2, because one technically didn't come out in 2019, and I'm not going to talk a lot on it, but I do really have to recommend. I saw it very, very late 2018, and it's still coming out. But the new She-Ra on Netflix is a fantastic show. I highly recommend everyone watch it. It's,
Excellent taste.
it's so good. 4th season just recently came out, and I'm still in the middle of it. But it's great. I mean, it's really, really good. I'm not going to specify anything more, but it's good sci-fi.
What's the name again?
She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. It was an old show from like the 80s. She's supposed to be like He-Man's sister or something, but Netflix rebooted it. No He-Man or anything. It's just She-Ra, and she
And her various friends
doing adventures and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm really not going to get more specific because it kind of is better if you kind of figure things out slowly.
I'll second this one. It's quite good.
Right? It really picks up in the second season too. I just was just like, oh, this is pretty good in the first season, and then the second and third season, I was like, whoa, it's really, really good. And so that's really serious. My actual favorite sci-fi thing that I've found in 2019 though is a slice of life webcomic called Val and Isaac.
Nice.
It's just on Tumblr. It's just about this crew of space mercenaries. One's a commando, good. One's a space wizard, and one's an engineer, and it's just their adventures.
All right.
And I really like it. It's really cute. It's they're all queer, which I love, and it's fun.
Correct.
It's fun. It's a mix of little nice slice of life moments and adventures to sci-fi type satire. One of the first, because a lot of the early stuff, if you go look at all of it, was just doodles and stuff. Then it evolved into a comic over time. But the earliest ones, the very first one that's in a comic form, right? The Space Commando captain. Her name is Val, and the name of the comic is Val Hates Multiverse Crossovers. And in it, Val from another universe, who's a guy, comes in and says, "I'm gathering Vals from everywhere to save reality." And she's like, "I'm in." And then it says, "Boys, this is Girl Val." She's the only Girl Val in the multiverse for all the multiverse crossovers. And this becomes a running gag in the comic of they're just like, "Girl Val, we need you." And it's stuff like that.
Imagine being the only girl in a group of guys when it's just you.
Incredible.
It's all,
and so
they're all you.
It's really fun, cute space adventures.
Title one more time, I'm sorry.
Val and Isaac. Val is the name of the space commando. Isaac is the space wizard. They were the two initial characters, and then initially, there's now a lot more that are regularly appearing, but it started off with just those two.
Nice.
Sounds really cool.
And I really like it. And yeah.
I do appreciate slice of life in just like ridiculous scenarios.
Right, because it's just goofy. It's these little short couple panels that has a bit of a punchline, and it's just some sci-fi setting. Yeah. Like there's one that just shows the engineer Minnow and how she recurringly, as she travels across the universe, mistakes inanimate objects for aliens because it's just like,
valid.
Right, she's like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And Isaac's like, "Minnow, that's a coat hanger." And then the last panel has these two pink glowing energy things looking at Minnow, and one's saying like, "Do you know where the nearest recharge area is?" And the other one's going, "Ilarius, that is a finite being."
Wow. Ouch. That's funny.
Oh dear.
This is making me really want to change mine to like something
There's
a
the
little bit more
finite being
lighthearted.
one. If you won't want to read it.
Nice.
Minnow.
Oh, I've
That's
seen
a coat
this
hanger.
art style before.
Oh,
I think I've seen bits of it.
Incredible.
Incredible.
And so, I mean, that's basically it. Is you've got the three main ones, but there's heavily recurring side characters, and they just you just watch their space adventures, and that's it.
Excellent. Good.
And so it's not a lot, but I really enjoy it.
Okay, so can I just plug something super fast that's related to that?
Sure.
Go for
If
it.
you guys haven't listened to the podcast Wolf 359, it's hilarious and I love it. And it's kind of like a slice of life for people stationed on a deep space research center. But my thing I was going to go with is I really like short stories. So I've been reading through a bunch of the old anthologies of Best American Short Stories, and this one I'd never read before. It's called Face Value by Sean Williams, and it's this concept that we are in, I don't think it mentions a year, some indeterminate future, where they've created a fabricator, which is a machine that is able to scan the composition of anything and pull on the resources that there are in the world and recreate that thing. And the way that it's set up, it's not super specific, but it seems like everyone has access to it. Somehow the world has decided all resources are available to be made into things using these fabricators, and they're fairly evenly distributed. And it's the One Earth government, so everything is available. And one of the major, like, I guess, effects of that, is money is worthless. Because if you can put money into a machine and make infinitely more of it, it has no value. And so people, money's not important to people. People are just pursuing what they're interested in, or what they are currently interested in while they're interested in it, and then moving on. And jobs are a little bit different. And so that's the basis of the world for this story. And an inventor essentially makes this really preposterous claim that he's found a new element, and that this element is the only substance that will not work in the fabricator. And he plans on revealing it to the world as a new form of currency. Because once you have something that is, again, in a limited supply, it can be used the same way that money is now. And so it, like, follows these peacekeepers from the one world, like, UN model thing as they talk through the implications of what this substance would do, and, like, what it means to be valuable. Like, does there have to be a limit in order to give something value? Stuff like that. And it's really thought-provoking, but I won't tell you how it ends.
That does sound really interesting.
It's cool. It's a cool story. It's pretty short. It's like maybe 6 pages, but good.
This guy's trying to bring capitalism back. We've got to stop him. Go,
Well, it's interesting because the guy's convinced, he's like, without anything to motivate anyone, in what way are we rewarding new ideas? And one of the other main points is, well, time. What you invest your time in is now what you value, because time is never going to be an infinite resource.
That's what you think.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's well written. So
Nice. We've got some good suggestions from everyone.
Speaking of time, I have one last little second recommendation if we have time for me to quickly sneak it in.
Just slip it on in there.
Another good piece of sci-fi media that I'll just briefly plug that I've been playing through recently is a video game series called the Zero Escape series, or the Zero Escape games.
I have one
I've
of those,
heard of
actually.
those. I think I watched the first hour of one of the games or something. They seem really interesting.
Yeah, the first one is called 999, like 9 hours, 9 doors, 9 something.
Isn't it just like Saw the video game?
Sort of. It's a little bit Saw-like in that the games are essentially your characters are trapped in a death game.
Yeah.
But it's not just a death game, though. There's a lot more going on. It's a great series if you like puzzles, mystery, and timeline bullshit.
What's it called again?
Zero Escape.
Zero Escape.
All right.
Because I'm pretty sure I have.
The first game is called 999. The second is called Virtue's Last Reward, and the last game is called Zero Time Dilemma.
That's the one I have.
That's the one I've heard of.
See,
I watched about an hour of
I'm
it.
in the middle of
I have
Zero
it.
Time
Do you
Dilemma right
watch it
now.
or play it?
Play it. I watched it on YouTube.
You should watch like a
I
Let's
don't know
Play.
how video games work.
If you don't want to actually solve the super overcomplicated puzzles, then I'd recommend watching it.
Yeah.
But the puzzles are tough, and they will take a long time if you are not very good at puzzles.
So I bought Zero Time Dilemma a while ago. I just haven't gotten around to actually playing it yet.
It's worthwhile. I've really been
Alright.
enjoying them. And it has some of the best time mechanics in any science fiction media I've consumed recently. The way it treats like timelines and decision making and stuff like that is fascinating.
It sounds really cool.
Yeah.
As in, the games have multiple endings depending on what decisions you make, right? Like a lot of similar puzzle or visual novel type games.
Yep.
But the game actually explores that more.
Fun.
And I won't say anything else.
You mean
for
in like
fear
a
of
meta
spoilers.
way, or?
In a meta way and within the plot itself.
Because a lot of games do kind of do that in very meta ways.
Like Undertale.
I was going to say Undertale. I mean, technically spoilers, but I mean, everyone knows Undertale at this point. But
We've got a awkward smile from Alex over here.
It's fine. I don't know anything about anything.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a really good video game that is exceptionally meta. It's kind of what made it popular. Because it was kind of an unheard of indie game. And it was just really good as that. And then, near the end, the game gets exceptionally meta, and it got really popular because of that.
Yeah, it's a game, like it's a dungeon crawler, basically exploring the morality of dungeon crawlers.
Yeah, it deconstructs the entire idea of an RPG, and
Yeah.
it's very well done. But Zero Escape is less meta than that, but the plot itself deals with the decisions you make.
Because I was going to say, in the aftermath of Undertale, there were a bunch of meta games, and I'm kind of burned out on them.
That's valid.
This is not like that.
Okay.
The only one I would really recommend besides that is called Pony Island, because it's just so weird.
Huh.
The initial premise of the game is you're playtesting a game designed by Satan, where you
Okay, I'm in.
play as a
All right,
little
then.
pony that jumps over obstacles.
Wait, why was... Alright.
That's it.
Okay,
And then
so...
and it gets the whole game is intentionally supposed to be very, very meta. But I mean that's the initial premise of it. It loads up and it just looks like Pony Island, and you play it, and there's a horse, and you jump over these barricades, and then within the first minute is Satan shows up and is like, "Thanks for playtesting this game for me," and the plot goes from there.
It's bizarre.
That sounds wild, and I'm very curious.
Now I'm interested. But I think that's all the time we have for this episode, and then for this season of the Sci-Fi Lab. So I'm DJ.
I'm Brooke.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Zohar.
And this has been the Sci-Fi Lab. Thanks for listening.